Welcome back. Almost said, you know what, but I caught myself.
Yes, sir.
Northern Black, we back.
Wait, what were you gonna say? You ain't down with the N-word no more?
No, welcome back to the Northern Black Voices.
Okay. Yes,
right.
sir. That's us.
All right.
To start off today's episode, we're going to pay homage to a fellow ancestor.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Nellie Fuller once said, if you don't understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you know will only confuse you.
Yep.
All right.
Oh shit. Hold on. You don't get away with that. So you gotta explain it for the people and for people that aren't as smart as you. Which includes me. I'm not sure about y'all, but explain what that means.
I'd like a breakdown.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just think everything we're about to elaborate or that we've been talking about, just that quote encompasses everything, why we meet up every single time.
All right.
You know, and so that quote, the significance of that quote is that if it just speaks to how there's a lot of confusion going on in the world. Everything's copyrighted, plagiarized, and when you understand that quote in its totality, you realize that unless you understand white supremacy, you won't really understand what's going on, why there's a lot of chaos, confusion.
So you have to understand white supremacy.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree with that, and I think that'll show up a lot in this specific episode.
All right.
Because I actually had an angle. I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is the white supremacy episode.
This is the White Supremacy Black History Month episode.
We just going back in time before white supremacy and all of that, right?
Whoa. There was a before white supremacy?
What do you mean? Of course, there was civilization way before. I mean, if you want to get deeper, like as we talk about slavery, we only talk about 400 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going back dirt deep.
Well, that see, no.
He's got a lot on his.
I can't
He's
wait
got
to
a lot
hear
to
it.
talk about today.
No. It's just that there's a lot of stuff that you can find, like, you know what I mean, before pre this slavery, right? That's like that. And as simple as the smallest thing I was talking about this weekend with my brother is we came across this thing called the Shabaka Stone, right?
Okay.
Which
Tell us.
the stone is made of limestone itself, but it was made from the pharaoh Shabaka himself, right? And this was just
The
what do you
tip of the
call it?
iceberg.
Right. It's like they had what do you call it? Like their rules and regulations, their life of civilization before the 25th century. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that just shows you itself.
Before the 25th Dynasty.
Dynasty.
Let me elaborate.
Dynasty.
Here, I'll piggyback on what Ukuwalu's saying.
Okay.
So imagine this. This is a great analogy that would describe the Shabaka Stone, which is the Shabaka Stone is a codified document that has all of our history on this stone. And so, just to put things into context, the creator of the stone,
Was
Shabaka.
Pharaoh Shabaka.
So
It's Pharaoh Shabaka, right?
yeah, he was paying homage to his ancestors.
Yes.
So imagine this. Imagine a baby creating the Shabaka Stone. You know, and the baby would have a parent and also a grandparent.
Yeah.
So he was paying homage to his ancestors.
But that just shows you alone how far back we go.
Exactly.
You know
So,
what I'm saying?
Right.
Even further back than the 25th
yeah,
century.
consider
right? So
Shabaka the baby.
Dynasty.
He's paying homage to his grandparents.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and when I speak about grandparents, his grandparents were 6,000 years older than him.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of the stuff we know today comes from the Shabaka Stone.
Yeah.
However, the
that's the
creator of the
oldest.
Shabaka Stone, he's paying homage to older people that lived 6,000 years before
Right.
him.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You know, so modern civilization, we like to look or reference the Shabaka Stone. It predates the Bible.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and so
And that's the oldest text that they found so far from like the 25th century.
no,
that they came about,
there's
right?
artifacts that
No, I'm saying that as in putting it out in not say text, but you know what I'm saying? It's like their
Like the literature that
Some of
they.
the
Of-
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Right, but it just shows that there's civilization before. I'm saying before those times, right?
And there's rich history of
And history, yeah.
African civilizations before slavery and the slave trade.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So why do we need to know this? Why is this important?
No, it's just to show us that before, if you want to call it, when did they say that the Greeks came into like Egypt.
You could
and
say 3,000 years.
3,000 years and stuff. It's just showing that was before that there was civilization,
Yeah.
right?
Does
Yeah.
that answer your question, or
Not really.
so? Okay, so
Sorry,
what's
what's
your
the
what's your
question?
exact
So
question?
so using the Shabaka Stone as some sort of an example
Right.
of it being proof that there were
There was.
civilizations prior to what, Greek civilization, you're saying?
Well, before the Europeans.
Or before
Any
like,
European
yeah,
sometime,
before
yeah,
Europeans.
Yeah.
Europeans deem as
Yeah.
but why? So you think that us as Black people need to know that?
Yeah, because there's a lot of us who don't understand that. They would say, when you look at if you're looking at the Bible itself, right? You would see that they start everything like as in the way they show Egypt and the way they show all of their text is showing that it's like it's whitewashed. It's basically they were the first. Again, I've said this before. When I was looking at the Bible itself, I didn't even know Egypt was pretty much Africa.
In Africa.
You know what I'm saying? The way they
Right.
showed it, right? So to know that there was history pre that, then you know what I mean? It would show us that okay, we are somebody. We've been here before. We are one of the first people on Earth, right?
And I'd say, yeah, just to elaborate, I would say a lot of cultures, they have flood stories. And so one of the significance of the Shabaka Stone is that it kind of left some sort of history. You know, earlier we used the word artifact, but
Yes.
yeah, I believe the word artifact means art in fact. If you break up the word, like, yeah, you kind of see everything you know about a civilization, you learn through their art.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and so, yeah, the Shabaka Stone is kind of like the facts of art
Yeah.
that was left
yeah.
behind.
So I still think Atu's question. He's still looking for
It's
an
not
answer.
answered.
So no, ask your question again.
No, so yeah, so I mean, I think it's good to know,
Right.
but I was trying to ask why is it important? It's good to know, but so you got close to saying that you found out that that you were being lied to pretty much.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
you're relating that to school, your studies.
Yes.
But I was trying to get you to put, like, for me that may not have known about the Shabaka Stone.
Oh, okay.
Or anything, or I mean, I know, but
To show like
or for someone else that don't, like, why do you think it's important for people that don't know this
Well,
to
coming
understand
Can I
it?
answer or?
Go ahead.
So here's why it's important,
You tried.
right? And it's not like it was a wrong answer.
No,
I get it.
It's just his point of view, and that's legit. So the answer to your question, and this is my opinion, and I think it's a valid opinion, but if Black folks don't know what we had in ancient Africa and what we were like, so all of these readings that the Shabaka Stones, that's what it's called, Destruction of Black Civilization, and a lot of books done by a lot of African historians, it shows that where we were as Black folks thousands of years ago, right? And the achievements that we actually accomplished. So something I'll be talking about today is democracy, right? And how in early African dynasties, how civilized the people were, and how before the term democracy even arrived in Asia and Europe, Africans were practicing this thousands of years before. So it shows that us as a people, when we unite and when we're able to get together and build for ourselves what we've accomplished, and it's kind of like a blueprint of what we can do. So I think that's why it's important, right? It shows us that we were here when before all the invasion and the raping of our people and the murder of our people, where we could get to once we're together.
That's
And I think that's why it's important.
Yeah, and that's my opinion too. So I didn't want to say it, I just wanted someone else to say it.
Right.
But that's what I believe too. I believe that once we know where we're from, we know what we could get past.
Absolutely.
Or not even just get back to, we could get back to it and beyond.
Right.
And I think that's very important for Black people to focus on and pay attention to. And that's what unity could bring, like you said.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that's very important. And of course, every other point of view, because how you personally feel about it is
Yeah.
important also.
No, like it doesn't. To me, that's the most important reason, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But there's lots of other reasons why it's important for people to know these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, just being at the system, like showing how like again how
Yeah,
they
man,
put
right.
our people down. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And show that like we really didn't come up with stuff, right?
Right.
And they're on top. Like this system thrives for them, so it's important again, like you said, to know our self-worth.
Bro,
to
you know-
what we're.
Let me give another example. So when you're raising kids, I've never raised a kid before. Well, I've helped raise kids. I have
Yeah,
nieces and
yeah.
nephews. It's like, do you guys know what the value of positive reinforcement is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right? As opposed to negative reinforcement. So it's like when you have a child, and there's two ways you can discipline kids, right? So don't think I'm talking about discipline black folks. So that's not what it is. It's just an analogy, right? So you can positively reinforce certain behaviors, or you can be a disciplinarian where it's like you punish people. So my point is that when you show people what they could be capable of, like think about how far that can go. Like imagine raising a child and showing them the things that they can achieve if they, if they do certain things, right?
Yeah.
And imagine how much further they could go,
Yeah.
as rather than if you take a stance where you're punishing them and using negative reinforcement
Yeah,
to teach. So to relate it to the question and the topic, it's like if black people know
What they can.
what we've done before, think about how many black folks we can get on board in this unity stuff that we keep talking, and how far we can go
Yes.
by showing them that positive side of their history. Because all we hear about is the negative.
The
shit.
negatives, yeah.
Right.
And I think that's even more important. And I like to highlight. I like that we talk about the negatives at times because you would have to ask yourself why this isn't just out there. Like our accomplishments, not modern, because we talked in last few episodes. We talked about our inventors,
The inventions,
and stuff like
right?
that. But to go even further back, if like the fact that our accomplishments and everything that we've lent to the world as a people is hidden away, I think that alone says a lot. And I have said it before, but I think that alone says a lot, because why would you try to hide that?
Right.
Why is our accomplishments, anything pre-slavery is mentioned as savages and uncivilized?
Yeah,
You
that's
get
what
words
people-
like that, tribal. You get all that stuff thrown around. But why is that? And I think that right there is like the proof in the pudding. It's like
Yeah, it goes back to what Kwaku said earlier. It's the white supremacy that we need to understand.
There's an
Right?
agenda.
Right.
Programming.
that's
Yeah,
what
it's
I
kinda
want
like
people to focus
TV.
on. I want people to
You know,
know
like-
that we're being lied to purposely. I
Yeah.
want people to understand that.
Yeah.
Right? It's part of understanding the
The
enemy.
program. Like, have you guys ever, like, you guys might find this a bit off topic, but have you ever wondered why they call it a TV program?
Yeah. I mean, no.
It's programming. It's
Yeah,
programming.
Yeah,
It's
it's
programming.
Because,
programming
like,
your mind.
That's the whole intent. You
Yeah.
hit it right on the nail.
Yeah.
And like in the same way, like they can't hold blacks to a high standard because it goes against the program.
Right.
They have a specific agenda, and like in past episodes we spoke about how like something as simple as a world map,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
and
Exactly.
so
Stuff like this, like
Small
small
things.
Yeah.
stupid stuff
it
like
goes
that.
against the program.
But exactly.
And so because they don't want to put blacks in a positive light, as you spoke about, they do the most to make sure that we're negatively reinforced.
Oh hell yeah. So
Yeah.
hold on, before we go forward, I wanna, because most people might not know what you're referring to when you say the world map. So can you explain that?
Yeah, so I would say like from K to university, most people they follow a map. The map that is provided to our children is not proportional to scale,
Right.
and so countries like Greenland,
North America and Europe.
yeah,
Yeah,
all,
yeah.
all
All
Indo-European
bigger,
countries are bigger in
Yes.
their size. If you're looking at the world from outer space, you'll see Africa being much bigger than how it's portrayed on a world map.
Yes.
There was
so-
an actual map called, I think
It's called the Peter projection map.
Yes.
That one has it to scale, but
Yeah.
the only good thing about the map that we use is that it's good for navigation.
Mhm.
But if you want to know the scales or
Yeah.
the real longitude and latitudes of countries, using the map that's provided or generally available, you'll realize that it's part of the program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it brings me back to this, because this is going to be our final episode on the Black History topic.
Mhm.
Black History Month, sorry.
Yeah,
'Cause
I was
we
about
always
to say,
we always
yeah,
talk Black History.
Yeah.
So it's funny because on that world map that you mentioned, it minimizes the size of Africa, and to most people it might be okay. Like, okay,
Why does it matter?
Is that really
Yeah.
important? Like, what are you guys
Yeah.
chirping about? Like,
Yeah.
really? But then, to me, it coincides with the fact that we get, although I know the beginnings of Black History Month, but it just seems that you get the shortest month, the coldest month, one of the worst month, while also on the world map stage, we minimize. It's like you're purposefully minimizing, and it's what they do in the programming that you spoke about.
Yeah.
It's like you're purposely minimizing
Yeah.
Black contribution to the world and how important Africa and Black folks are to the world.
But definitely not to scale.
With the world map
I
and
was
this month.
gonna say that's even to show though, because when you look at that map, or when you look at American history, that's
Right.
all we're
African
basing
history.
everything off of. Exactly. And then when you go now to African history, imagine what you see.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
American
Yeah.
history is African
on a
history.
bigger, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Before, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, man, it's an interesting thing when you actually think about all these things and you put it together.
Yeah.
The programming, you look at the map, you look at the month they give us, where it's like, okay, here's your month. You can talk all your Black history stuff, and then it's like we forget about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're trying to not do. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yes.
So we
Yes.
meet every
Yeah.
week, and
Yeah.
we're talking African history
History,
all the
yes.
times,
Yeah.
right?
So today's episode, we're going to be talking about ancient Black history.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah, man. This is probably going to wrap up the Black History Month topic, and the importance of this episode is we're talking about the contributions, because last week we spoke about the contributions of Black Americans. No, Black.
Invent.
Well, a lot of them were Americans.
Yeah.
Black contributions within the past 100 years or so.
Okay.
But today we're focusing on
ancient Black
a
history.
little bit
Yeah.
longer.
Going back to ancient civilizations.
Yes, sir. All right, what are we starting with, fellas?
I don't know. I guess I'll take the floor.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Let's go.
I guess for those who don't know, I would say a lot of you guys probably watch Star Wars, and
I've seen a few of them.
and so I would say Star Wars. The whole concept of Star Wars was based in African mythology. You know, like Darth Vader, if you or whatever the fuck his name.
Yeah.
If you look at the Great Sphinx, which isn't even called that to Africans.
Oh shit!
His face on the Sphinx
Yeah.
is a carbon copy.
I've never even thought about that. But okay, so you see a coincidental
It's not
image.
coincidental.
Okay, all right.
Everything
Lay it
in-
on me, bro.
Like Yoda, you know, he resembles a lot of Africans. Yoda's a short-statured green person
Okay.
in the Star Wars, but for those who know their history, like most cultures in the world have a short-statured, short-statured group.
Right.
So as an example, there's a group called the Twa and Buti. They were the first people to populate planet Earth.
Okay.
They traveled all over the world. That's why, like as an example, Filipinos often they're short-statured. You can go to Asia, you'll see short-statured people.
Right.
You know, like if I go to Europe, and we all know the folk tale about the Lucky Charm and the four-leaf clovers.
Right.
It's about the story of the leprechaun is the short-statured person.
Right.
You know, and so this short.
Once.
So yeah, just there's a lot of evidence around the world that shows short-statured people were the first to populate, and so I just cited some examples. But as it relates to Star Wars, the whole concept of it speaks to African history, African mythology, and so just right under your nose, you don't know the things that are going on. People have been studying us. You know, people know us
Well, we've
better
been
than we
studying.
know
We've been
ourselves.
studying ourselves. Wouldn't you put it that way too?
I would say a part of the programming is we're so confused because people have studied us so much that they put the confusion on us.
Yeah.
You know, if you go into our communities, there's a lot of disarray, a lot of confusion. You know, like the Black family unit, we're not together, and so it's because there's people studying us more than we're studying ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or we've forgotten who we were.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard this before. This is to the people studying us point. Chem means black. So
Yeah.
you get chemistry,
Right.
and
Yeah.
a few other things from it. So chemistry apparently is the study of black,
Black magic.
Yes. Yeah.
melanin.
Melanin. Yeah.
Like chemistry is.
That's where the word actually derives from, the study of.
Melanin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chemistry, the study
Okay.
of black,
Okay.
study of melanin.
Right.
You know.
So I find
Yeah,
that
chemistry. There's also word alchemy.
yes.
Right.
You know, like people who are of Arabic ancestry, they know of the alchemist. Buddhist people in India and China, they believe that we just spoke about how chem means black. So if you look at the word alchemy, they're known as people that possess the power of, you could say, black magic.
Right.
Okay.
You know, but
Would that be considered voodoo and all that stuff? No.
yeah,
If they tried to
it's
put
been
it
lumped
into
in
it,
together.
okay.
But see, the word voodoo,
Yes.
it means the essence, the God essence in a thing.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Okay, spirituality and that stuff too, right?
Yeah, a lot of people who see a magician, they don't know what's happening. You know, it's
Okay.
just the person performing the trick. He knows
How it works.
the God essence. He knows the practice, the process. He knows how to perform the
And
magic trick.
they deem that in a negative light too.
Yeah.
Right. So,
You know, blacks were able, people in the past were able to do things that could not be
to be
explainable.
explained or so, yeah.
You know, and so yeah, I'm really happy that you brought up chemistry because blacks created the math, the sciences,
Yes.
and just everything that we know today.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Astrology, all of that, man.
Yeah,
That's
I
what they
think
used to, right?
it's easy to see.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the Dogons and how much they learn in terms of astrology, well, I guess the main thing that they highlight from the Dogons is the Sirius star system.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Orion's belt and whatnot. And they never believed anything. I mean, they took notes, but they never believed anything until they could actually verify themselves. And
Exactly.
I think that's the type of people that's leading us. I think that's the type of people that's in charge, or that's in control. The people that it's like toddlers, like you said earlier. We're being led by people that actually don't know what's going on, and
But
I
they're
think
waiting
it's-
for facts.
they're searching. But here's the thing. Here was my main point. One of the main things that I wanted to highlight for this episode was the fact that you have stuff like this. If you look at the Dogons, you see how they contributed in a way that Europeans couldn't verify until later.
Right.
There are a lot of
They
other
needed a
instances
microscope.
like that. Yeah, they needed a telescope.
Sorry, a telescope, it's a microscope. But yeah, it's the same concept
So
actually.
yeah, just the other way.
Yeah.
And you could look at pyramids, democracy, and a bunch of other stuff the same way, right? Because you have a group of people that doesn't have
The
so
intellect.
factually and historically, Europeans only go so far back. There's a point where and not that far back where you'd have to ask, well, where are their footprint? Where are European or none? Well, where are Europeans' footprint?
Right.
Right? There's a time where if you keep going back, they disappear.
Right.
So actually, there's a point where all non-blacks disappear, and if you keep going back, it's just black.
And the only way to find themselves is they have to come back.
Well, no. My point to this is, where else do they learn from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Right? Where else do they learn from if they just showed up? I mean, I could explain where they showed up from, but I won't get into any of that. But there's a point where they just showed up, and then they started running things because of the type of people that they are. So, invasions, pillages, rapes, all that stuff, Vikings, all the stories that's coming out of Europe.
Well,
You know what? It's funny because it ties into because I wanted to talk a little bit about democracy. Sorry.
yeah.
So I'll bring that up right now based on the
Yes.
point that you're mentioning because there was a kingdom, a Mossi kingdom, right? And they prophesied that. What did they say? It's right here actually. They held a prophecy that when the first white man appears, the land of the nation would die.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So my thing is like where would they? Like, has that happened before? Because where did that idea come from?
The white man appearing?
Yeah, and then the nation would die. Because if you think about that quote, think about what that quote means. Like, just think about that.
I would say scientifically speaking, though, it makes a lot of sense. Because, like, what I mean by that is, like, well, the general populace does not know that white is recessive, but the point I'm trying to make is, like, at night, everything returns to black.
Right.
Everything comes out of black,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
and so,
And I
So
would
do you
say
think
white-
that? So do you think that prophecy was scientific, or
no,
was
it's
it?
factual.
No, I know that, but were they leading towards? Were they actually talking about the white man, or were they talking about science?
I would say, like,
What would white mean in science? In any other way? The white man.
No, I'm just trying to understand.
His point. Okay.
His point about the science behind it.
what?
Because what it means in the literal world is that when the first white man came to Africa, that's when they started their pillaging and plundering and the destruction of ours. And it literally, that's when the white man came to Africa,
Yeah.
or Asian man came to Africa, or whatever.
Mhm.
That's when African civilization started
To deteriorate.
to deteriorate.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't think that it was the Africans that ventured out further into, like, if you want to call it Iceland, like to the ice ages, to like mountains or whatever, and because they were, you don't figure like they were us, and by venturing out, the pigment of their skin, everything
Well,
has changed.
Yeah, I don't want to get. I don't
Wait,
know
you-
much about that.
Okay, so for people that believe that, it's not true. But for people that believe that, you'd have to explain to me why we're not turning white anymore.
Yeah.
Why
What do you
we're
mean
not
we're not
turning
turning
white?
white anymore?
Yeah.
If it
Well,
was, if
I'm
it was
saying,
black
okay.
people that turned white, I would assume that the answer would be, well, it took
No, well-
how many hundred or thousands.
I
of
can
years
answer
for
that
it to
question.
happen.
I can
Why-
answer
Can you
that
answer that
question.
question?
Yeah.
Let me.
why isn't
I
that
can
happening?
answer that.
No, because I was okay. No,
I get it. I've heard the argument.
I've heard that,
before.
yes.
Yeah.
So I would say it's twofold, which is one, so the first part to that question is, I would say if a black person can mate with a white person successfully, it proves we're one species. Like a dog cannot mate with a cat.
Okay.
So this kind of reaffirms what Ukuwalu's saying.
Hold
How
on, but for a black person to mate with a white person, the white person have to be there where they come from. I think that's the
they
question.
came
But that's
out
what I'm
of the
saying.
black.
They came from us, is what I was saying.
And so
Isn't
how
that-
they came from us is how, by not being in the sun,
That's exactly what I was gonna get to,
That's
right?
right, bro.
It's
Because
like, we've all heard of the word, I believe we've heard that people in past history are cavemen.
Right.
We don't know, there's no mention in history of blacks living in caves.
okay.
The only people that live in caves are whites.
Okay.
The reason they were in caves is because of the Ice Age.
Yeah.
And through the
Right.
Ice Age, they depigmented themselves.
Okay.
So,
So
I mean,
so
it
having
was
over-
as simple as you look at
in
it,
a
Yeah.
cold environment that turned white.
Exactly.
Right,
So to
because
go
I'm-
back to my initial
Let-
point of the Lucky Charm,
Right.
the four-leaf clover, not Lucky Charm, the four-leaf clover.
yeah.
Where you hear in Ireland they say, chase the pot, follow the rainbow, you'll find a pot of gold.
Right.
There's no gold in Europe.
Okay.
So Africans went to Europe, and that's why they know of gold. Or if you
Well, Africans were everywhere.
exactly.
But that's my point. Africans were everywhere,
At the same token,
and even the whites were Africans themselves.
Yeah.
They were just, I guess.
That's
you know
why
what
if you
I mean,
take
as the
their
climate
DNA,
gets colder, right?
if a white person does a DNA test, they'll come out 1 to 3% black. You know, and just to further add to my point, as an example, in England, they have the coat of arms.
Right.
They pay homage to a lot of African artifacts. So England, I don't know if you follow their soccer team, but their coat of arms has lions on it.
Okay.
There's no lions in England.
Mm-hmm.
Lions are indigenous to Africa.
Okay.
How did people, like, lions are entrenched in England's history.
No, listen, I don't
That's mine.
here. I don't disagree with you that everything came from Africa, like, or I guess included. So, but
No, but I was just saying, because when you were
always
saying when the
throwing shit
first
around.
white person showed up, I was saying it's because they,
Even blacks can even produce white.
yeah. But what I'm saying is they came
But they're called albinos.
right.
Okay.
And so in Tanzanian culture, the quote that you gave is a prophecy also in Tanzanian culture.
Right.
And Tanzania is a country in East Africa that produces, like, albinism is very common in that region.
Okay.
So here's a. Oh, sorry.
No, you can
That's
go.
all. Here's a possible answer. Wait, you had a question.
Was it a prophecy of science,
prophecy.
or was it? Yeah.
No. So speak to the prophecy of how they might have known that, like, what are they talking about, a white nation?
Yeah.
Before, because there were no white people before.
Mhm.
It's because there was a plan to create white people, and you're right.
Well, that's
they are
okay.
from black people.
Yes.
But it's not because they've been okay. So based on what I know so far,
Mhm.
and this is from tribal. This is from Kenya and Botswana tribes. It was already planned. And you hear this name Yakub or Yahweh,
To create.
Yahweh, the plan to make non-blacks was a plan,
Mhm.
and there was a process, and the process took about
Thousands of years.
50 to 75,000 years, I think, something roughly.
Mhm.
Meaning that the Caucasians weren't there at the beginning, because the process is exactly like you made blacks, so you have to degrade the environment. I'm going to try to go through this quick. You degrade the environment, then you get mishaps in your genetic structure.
Right.
So that's the only time you get albinism happening, because we don't have a history of albinism prior to, I'll say, let's just say 100,000 years from now. Ago. So once you get albinos, then you start breeding albinos with albinos. So if you ever heard anything about the island of Pelon or Atlantis,
Yeah.
I don't know how far you could dig on these two, but if you keep digging, you're gonna find that that's what these islands were used for. For the same breeding process. And this Moses story that you hear in the Bible actually comes from Pelon, the island of Pelon, because during the breeding process, they got rid of the blacks bit by bit. So
Right,
at the beginning, there were blacks on the island, but during the breeding process, where you have albinos, and then you're lightening the race, it was a process.
Okay.
And then the blacks had to get out of there. Yakub died after a while, or ascended, and then they continued the process. So the first race you get out of this process, according to this tribal information, is the Persians or Indians.
Okay.
And then, it might be Latinos, then Indians, then you get the Chinese, and then you get the Caucasians.
Yes,
So the
yeah.
prophecy might have been speaking to when the Caucasians show up, because that's the bottom of the gene pool. Scientifically, factually, however you want to look at it, to be Caucasian is to be the bottom of is the most recessive.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. I'm not trying to piss anyone off.
Yeah.
So that's the white man right there. So you have the Chinese race and you have the Caucasian race that are the two lowest in terms of recessiveness. You can't go, and I'll give you another thing here, for you religious folks. It takes 200 years to breed out the dark germ. It takes
One
7
generation.
generations,
Right.
or 200 years to breed it completely out.
Mhm.
So you have the first race showing up after the because albinos are still black. They're
Right.
still set to have.
Yeah.
Because they still
dark
have the
gene. They still have the
melanin,
dark
like
gene.
they still have
The black gene.
Yes,
right?
they
So,
still have the dark gene. So when you get the first race, then you deplete in the gene pool. I was going to make a point there. I forgot what my point was. Oh, sorry, the 200 years, sorry.
Mhm.
Sorry. So then you get 3 races taking up 600 years. And the
Okay.
last race only taking up 66 years.
I've heard this. Yeah, I've heard this.
So if you ever
The
wonder
first
where the
creation
mark in
of-
the beast, 666, the number comes from, it's because it took 666 years to create
You know,
consciousness.
they always put it on that child Damien or whatever it is. But yeah. No, I said they always put that whole 66 on that
This nigga's
name of the
talking
child
about the
Damien.
movie.
But anyways,
Damien?
Yeah,
that's
he's
the
talking
name
about
of
the movie,
That's
the
the
Omen,
name
the
of
Omen.
their omen. Their
He's giving a
beast.
shout out.
I'm just saying. When you mentioned the 666, I was like, that's like in every
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah.
Yeah, it's in pop culture.
My point is, I think our ancients plan stuff out. They
Well, of
already,
course.
and they don't just plan for, they don't just plan for, tomorrow or the next 100. They actually plan events out, whole events out, whole civil, like they already, it's amazing.
Right.
It's amazing. The capabilities of our ancient selves, it'll blow you out of the water, honestly.
What I was gonna say, that couldn't that still be a part of the process though?
What's
of
that?
like sending them out further.
I don't think a
venture or
black
something?
person
Because
being in a cold climate has anything to do with us losing. I don't think we.
I because well I
It
was
would
just-
happen.
I mean, I can see it happening. I can see it
Because I
happening,
can
but not
see
to
the
the
skin
degree
in
where
this-
you actually turn to a white person. That shit
It
don't
would.
make no
You don't
goddamn
think so?
sense to
You don't
me.
think so?
No, fuck it.
I find it interesting. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
No,
I don't
how
know
about
which
it's
this?
impossible.
which way to go.
Actually, it's as a matter of fact, it's impossible.
Would you agree that you are darker in the summer than you are in the winter?
I would, yes.
And so now, over thousands of years, if
Of
you're just
being
in a
from
cold
the sun.
climate,
Yeah.
it speaks to how you can depigment yourself.
Yes.
So our
I'm not
initial
white,
point
But
is
that's
our
fine.
initial point is
Yeah.
a lack of sun,
Yes.
being in the caves.
But is there a lack of sun?
no,
the lack of sun being
the term caveman comes from people living in caves.
Yeah.
And so there's no sun in caves.
Right.
It's just complete darkness.
Mhm.
And so, there's 2 points I'm going to give. People in solitary confinement, when they come out, they're lighter.
Yeah, but they're still black. That's my point.
No, but,
Yeah, but over
they're
the
there for
distance,
14
yeah.
days, or
Yeah.
they're
I
doing
get
the
it.
term.
Yeah.
Okay, so listen, man.
And just to
There's a lot of stuff being thrown out here.
No, I was just saying. 'Cause
No. I wasn't expecting this, but it's information. It might, if it's information overload for you, just go.
We'd have to
Go
check
check
it. Yeah.
Go check it. Go
I
fact
just
check
find both ways interesting. Like both
'Cause-
points interesting is why I was
Yeah,
mentioning.
because to be honest, the stuff that Atu just explained,
Yeah.
I had no prior knowledge of that.
You see, and I did because we've spoke about that before. So that's why I was like, it's interesting to see, even
And-
from your point too, right?
And even the stuff that Kwaku and Kuloa mentioned,
Mhm.
I've heard stuff like that before.
Mhm.
I can't really speak on it because I didn't do any such research on
Yeah.
it to be able to verify or even
Deny.
deny or
Yeah.
accept that
Yeah.
the so-called truth. So everything you hear on this show is going to be a so-called truth, right? So, like we said earlier, in every episode we say we're bringing stuff to the table, and we want black folks to fact check us on it and
And come back with an argument.
and further research.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As we just did right here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, right?
As we say every episode, don't believe anything we say. Go fact check
Yeah.
us.
We do light research, but we're not here to educate. Well, I guess
We are
here
the educators,
Yeah, man.
but
We're not here to take you to school. We're not doing presentation and all that shit.
Yeah.
But, we give.
Well, not yet. We're not going to bring out the PowerPoint just yet. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe
I
soon,
actually
bro.
wanted to.
But
'cause
continue with your democracy.
just show
I think I
them,
cut you
like,
out.
clearly how my initial point of how with Star Wars, if I just showed the pictures of 4 characters from Star Wars, as well as 4 other characters, you would just see clear as day where they get the inspiration from.
Right.
Yeah, but
You know,
they've never been creative. Their inspiration for everything
It's
is always
plagiarized.
been.
Yeah.
you know, he spoke about actually Sirius A.
Right.
You know, and there's 2 points. The Italian soccer team, the soccer club in Italy is called Sirius A.
Football club for all my European.
Yes.
And,
Yeah. Okay.
Similarly,
Non-American
when
friends.
you look at NASA's logo, they're also stealing African history.
yeah,
You
like
know, all of these, every entity that we know, they just copy and plagiarize our ancestors.
Yeah.
listen, man. If you don't know that the majority of the stuff in world history came from black, shame on you because even rock and roll.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he said it.
Yeah.
The man is trying to be the most inclusive.
No. For me, it's not about being inclusive and PC. It's just let's look at women now in pop culture, right? What's the trend for women now in pop culture?
If you ain't twerking, you ain't shit.
No, fuck all that. I'm
Less
not even
clothes, man.
I'm not even talking
I'd
about
say
that.
feminist.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about what are women trying to look like nowadays?
Oh,
right.
yes,
What are white
yes,
women
yes. See, now
and
that
non-black
goes to
women
a
trying to
beauty,
look like nowadays?
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm
Right?
happy you brought it
So
up.
right now, hold on. So right now we're in a stage where we see something else being like literally in front of our eyes being taken from black culture, right? So we have all these non-black women that are, you know,
Doing
lip
all-
fillers.
filling their hips, filling their
Yeah.
ass, filling their lips, going out in the sun and tanning.
Always trying
You know
to
what I'm
be
saying?
sanitary.
So it's like it's happening in every single generation where stuff is being taken from black civilization, from black African original people.
Yeah.
You
No,
know what
I'd
I'm
just
saying?
like
so it just
to
doesn't end.
add to that, like just give some context. Like in the past, we all know what the beauty standard is for a model.
Oh,
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it would be you had to be skinny, white,
straight here.
straight hair.
Flat ass.
You know, and like spoke about how they're stealing our stuff.
Changing colors of their eyes and doing all
no,
that.
good.
Nagus talked about how they're stealing our stuff.
Right.
You know, and like they're stealing our stuff because now they can use science to replicate what blacks have
Yeah, no, absolutely.
naturally.
Yeah.
You know, they're injecting themselves, they're going to the laboratory, they're doing the most to steal our features.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And,
like
and it's
Still
blatant.
call us ugly.
It's blatant now too, right?
Yeah.
It's blatant. It's like I feel like there was a period where it was blatant in ancient history where they literally chopped off the noses of statues back then.
all that.
Then there was a period where it's subtle. You know, okay, let's do this. Let's steal this rock and roll type shit. Let's see. Okay, Africans did this when they were dancing and singing and making these types of sounds of music. We're gonna take this, go to a different part of the world, and invent it, and it'll be known as ours, right?
Yeah.
And now we're at another period where it's like, like I said, the example is the women going outside tanning to turn our color. They're filling themselves with whatever to gain, acquire our
black
features.
features.
So it's like it
And
was,
then
it was
telling us
blatant,
the
then it was
reverse,
subtle.
yeah.
Now it's just blatant again,
Yeah.
straight in your face. So they're not even trying to hide it anymore.
No.
I know, yeah, and just to even give more examples to what speaking about, like
Right. You're good, man. You're good.
to give more examples about what Nagus is speaking about. Like I'll cite two. We all know Ronald McDonald with McDonald's.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, he's the caricature for Mickey D's.
Wait, that nigga has an afro, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He has an afro.
But they do that with a lot of clowns
Red
and
lips.
stuff like that too.
That was my second
Oh
point.
shit.
I'm happy you brought that up.
Okay.
You know, like they make it look bad that having Afrocore features is bad, but they
But
just
they
monopolize
use
it.
They use it in everything. they do.
Everything they do.
Yeah, man. It's to my point with democracy. I don't want to dwell too much on that, but this month was supposed to talk about real African history and the contributions of the African people to the world. So, in terms of my term about democracy, to me, democracy was practiced in ancient Egypt, and I forget which exact dynasty, but it was practiced in ancient Africa, where before it was even mentioned in Asia and Europe, right? And the one thing I want to talk about, mention about democracy back then was that, and this is in the book Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams, and I read a book review of a white historian that that verified a lot of things that Chancellor Williams did say. So it's not like Chancellor is some rogue black power nut that wants to credit everything to black folks, right? He was a real researcher, and he dedicated his life to studying African history. So one point I want to make about democracy is that the way it was practiced back then, people took it serious. So there were elders that were represented, so they were elected, right, by the people, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what demo means.
Elders were elected, they were chosen. Well, elders were elders, and they were the representative of
the
certain
community.
groups,
Yeah.
certain communities. So they would all go out to, so there were dynasties, right, which were ruled by emperors and what's another word for emperors? What did they call them back then?
Nesubeti is one word.
Right.
Not like pharaohs or any of that stuff.
Yeah, whatever word you want to use to
That's the Indo-European word.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They can't pronounce our multi-syllable words.
Well, I can't pronounce multi-syllable words. But forgive me. So my point about democracy was that the people took it seriously. So whenever like emperors and rulers would seem to, let's say, stray and get power hungry, the people would step up.
Yes.
Right?
Bring them back. Yeah.
And even emperors that saw that when people were getting complacent about certain things, they would actually call it out, right? Which to me shows that the power was actually in the people's hands.
Yeah.
And you
You
see
know what
how
I'm saying?
they reversed it here to say how kings and queens all have
Well,
the last say or the full say. You
Well,
know what I'm
But
saying?
For Europeans,
That's
for Europeans,
yes.
it was
Right.
That
Was
was
like that,
like
yes.
right, and that's the difference. No,
Yeah.
that's a very good point because that's the difference now.
Yeah.
Because democracy now, the way we know it, they literally tell you like to run for anything in Ontario where we're from, you need to raise a certain amount of money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So right there, it's like if you don't even got the
Yeah.
money, like you don't even worry about it,
Yep.
right? So it's funny how, for me, the irony comes from a lot of people claiming democracy started in ancient Greek civilization, but then like that term was being used, not used, the practice, because I'm not sure if they used the exact
No,
term
they
in
didn't
ancient
use the
Africa,
term.
but that practice was being done in these ancient Egyptian dynasties, and the way it was done was democracy in its purest form,
Yeah.
right? Where the power was actually in the
In the
people's hands.
hands.
And when you look at democracy today, it's like if you ain't got the money, like don't even
Exactly.
consider it. You know what I'm saying? And now big corporations, depending on who's lobbying for who, you're the one that's making decisions, and you have the power over the people, right? The people don't have the power anymore. You have the power over the people in today's world. I understand that you get to vote and a lot of that stuff they say matter, but do we really have the power after we vote?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the point I wanted to make about
Democracy.
democracy and to challenge the notion that it was started in Greek civilization. Because according to this book and other books that corroborate this book, before the term even existed in Europe and Asia, African
right.
dynasties were practicing that same, it's not a ritual, what is it?
Yeah.
That same ideology,
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
say. So that's the point I wanted to make about
Democracy.
democracy and the African contribution to the world. Because where do you think the Greek and the Asians learned it from?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. There's a practice that again come back to be re-civilized, right? So,
I'd like to say that
Yeah.
I think there is a lot more than just democracy that the Greeks learned, because like I said earlier, who else and
Yeah.
where else are they going
They-
to learn
they-
from?
mhm.
Right.
And they were so infatuated with the way Africans did things, the way they behaved, the way they were, how moral they were. Herodotus spoke about that a lot. There's a lot more I think they took from us
No.
that's probably harder to find
Yeah.
than
And
anything else.
Yo, listen, man. Like I mentioned, rock and roll, democracy.
Yeah, it's
um,
everything pretty much.
There's just the way we look, our features. Like
Yeah, I wanted to
run through the stuff, man. Yeah.
I was
if you can
trying
do
to find religion. Well, I wanted to talk about religion and how we've contributed to religion, but I didn't want to botch it, so I'm trying to find my shit, but I can't find my shit. But anyway, kind of a summary.
Yeah.
The Hindus, I'm starting with Hindus because they're one of the oldest known religious practices.
Organized. Yeah.
Their main deity, aside from Krishna, is Rama,
Okay.
right? And there's 7 different instances you could go. Hinduism, you could look at, is it Zarathustroism? I might be botching
This
that
dates
word.
back to when too?
These are like really old
Old,
religion,
okay.
like the oldest religions, I guess I would say, coming all the way down to Nation of Islam.
Right.
Oh, okay.
It's been shown where these religions come from.
Right.
Rama is an African term. Rama itself just means mother, father.
Okay.
Right? So there was a saying. It wasn't a deity, but it was a term of respect because we responded to the elders using Rama.
Okay.
And an elder is actually a male and a female. And they're elder because they've been living the longest.
They have
I'm just
like
gonna leave
the most
that.
ancient.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll leave that because speaking about the elders, and it's the same elders that the Bible mentioned
Right.
Mhm.
that I'm referring to. the Bible shows it differently, but from what I've learned, there's a lot more that goes into speaking about the elders. But that'll be like a totally
we got it.
fucking episode. But so there's like Muhammad, Zarathustra, Quetzalcoatl, Rama, Muhammad, Jesus. All these people were black. And the information I wanted to kind of read out shows how they've been taken up. It started with us, and it's been taken. And adopted by different groups. Rama, Indians, Zarathustra, and then you have some like the Jews are worshiping. Like I'm gonna elaborate a lot more on that when we talk about religion, when we start doing our religious episodes. But I wanted people to know that that's something else that comes from black.
Right.
The idea of religion, not religion itself, but the idea, the grouping and the following of what. So, because these people were only sent to remind us who we are. They are actually sent to, like Jesus, for example, wasn't sent to lead or start a church. He was actually sent. He actually spoke on what he was speaking about to remind black people who they are.
Okay.
That's all.
And on that note, so let's in the interest of time, I know you wanted to.
No, we can get to it on another note.
Speak, homie. Don't be speak. You gotta go.
Yeah. So it's like these conversations, I love them because sometimes they just blossom into something that we didn't even plan for.
Yeah, exactly.
And the reason why I implore black folks to start talking about these things is because, like I said, I came onto this episode not knowing where it was exactly going to go. I knew what our title was and what we wanted to do, but then I learned a lot just by talking to these three guys right here. And that's our goal. That's what we want people to do. Right? Start the conversation, and you never know where it's going to take you. You feel me?
Yeah.
And I mean, on that note, unless anybody has.
I got one thing to say, actually, which is like, I was trying to say this earlier.
You started it off?
Which was like, simply put, if you read a lot of books, pre-1800s, a lot of references was made to the black contribution to the world. It was only until recently that we've been erased. You know, the colonial powers have done the most to ensure that they take credit for everything.
What would be recently though?
Since the 1800s.
Since the 1800s.
The past 300 years.
Okay, because I was gonna say like
200-300 years. Yeah. Depending on how you want to.
And when did the Greeks and that stuff come into rule? Not like that was like
the Greeks was like AD, BC,
like like 300s and stuff like that. Like further back.
And if you study Greek philosophy, Greek history or books pre-1500s. They paid homage to Africans.
Yes, no doubt.
You know, it was only until after slavery, the 1800s, that's when we started to get a false narrative.
Yeah.
And so.
And that was the intent for this Black History Month theme that we wanted to do, was to. I know we hear all the stuff about our recent contributors when Black History Month comes along, because the non-blacks, they like to go to those things, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it makes them feel good or whatever the case may be, but those are the stuff they like to go to. But I say it's important that we as black folks know our true history and how vast it is.
Yes.
Right?
They took a lot from us and they give us just a little bit back. Like,
and they changed.
The small month, the small Africa, right? And they took so much from us.
Yeah.
And you're still hiding most of it.
Yeah. And on that note, future episodes we're gonna be talking about reparations. I'm dead fucking serious. I'm not kidding. You think that's funny? We're gonna be talking about maybe what we're owed. What we're owed is
they wouldn't be able. They can't afford it.
The world can't. We'll
They can't afford it.
We'll
They can't afford it.
So
they can't afford it.
for the people watching on YouTube, thank you for rocking with us. For the people listening on whatever podcast whatever streaming site you're listening, thank you for rocking with us. We're here to stay. We got someone to contribute.
Yeah.
And we're coming at you hard, man. You feel me?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, back it down.
You hit it right on the nail there. Like, you can see we don't even agree, but
That's not the point.
You know, yeah. The point is just to have conversations.
Yeah, man. And I remember Atu mentioned something on the Spotify, the SoundCloud episode that you posted. We're gonna take the narrative back and we're gonna tell our own stories.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And on that
We have
note, yeah, man. And on that note, this has been another episode of Northern Black Voices podcast. We'll catch y'all later.
All right.
We out.